Hi Home Talkers, I'm Madison McGann coming to you from Covington, Washington. My husband is the filming guy and my friend Tamara over here is going to help us with questions, and today I'm going to be making some wall art out of just scrap flooring. So let's get started. I'm going to show you these boards right here have lots of color on them, and so this is why I love playing with this kind of wood, and they're tongue and groove. So you can just fit them together and create pieces pretty big. So I'm going to glue these and then put some wood on the back to make them really firm. But through the magic of preparedness, I'm going to already have some put together. So as you can see, I've got them lined up, and this is what I'm going to create my wall art on. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I have the back firm. So I'm going to attach some wood to the back. So I've got 5 boards here, and I'm going to be putting these boards on the back and firm them up with glue. I'm going to use my E6000, and I'm going to use my pin gun, my nail gun. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to tell you I got this wood at Home Depot, and it's actually very inexpensive. It's only about I think it's like $3 or $4 a board. Can you put the camera down just a bit? Yeah, so it's about $3 or $4 a board, and they'll cut it for you if you want it cut. So you can just go in and pick out the boards that have the best character and just have them cut it. And I believe that each board you can get 4 pieces. So it's perfect for a wall hanging. I'm actually going to be using 5 pieces because I'm going to create a really cool piece of art. So I'm just going to glue this down. You can see. And then once I've done that, I'm going to measure my boards before the glue dries to make sure that they're both the same length from the end.
Jacqueline from Poconos says hello.
Hi, Jacqueline. So while I'm doing this, why don't you tell me where you're from? And I'll tell you that today our giveaway question is, what sorts of fun wall pieces, wall art have you done with just items that you've had? I'd love to hear about some of the different designs my home talkers have come up with. So I've got these with the glue on them, and I've got them 2 inches from the top. Now I'm going to pin them in. And I'm just going to use probably 1 pin per board.
Penny painted a flower on wood.
Oh, fun. Was it rustic, Penny? I love rustic wood art, and that's what we're going to be doing today. A real rustic design. But rustic wood art is really popular right now, and a lot of people pay good money for it, and that's why we're doing this today, so you can just see how easy it is. And you see all my boards are connected, and they're going to be really easy to paint now. What I'm going to do is turn it over, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint, I've got this clock stencil that I'm going to use, but I'm not going to use it on the whole thing. I'm only going to use it in the corner. So I'm going to paint the wall clock kind of up in a corner, and then I'm going to have a different pattern over here. So let's get started here.
People asking what kind of air gun you have.
I have it's called an Airstrike, and it's by Ryobi. It's an Airstrike. It's just pin gun, or nail pins, or finish pins. That's what it is, finish pins. But super easy to use, and I'll tell you, when I first got it, I was really scared of it, and now it's like that and my skill saw I feel like super comfortable with. But you should be wearing glasses when you use it, and I'm not doing that. So I've got my stencil. I've got it right where I want it. I want it kind of up in the corner, and maybe not all of it. So this, because it's so big, comes in a couple pieces. So I'm going to do the bottom piece first, and then the top piece.
And then where do you get those stencils at?
So this particular stencil, I got off an Etsy shop that isn't around anymore. But these clocks are really easy to find on Etsy. And you can get it customized to what size you want. And I think this particular clock comes in 3 pieces. And it is, I think it's 32 inches wide when it's all, circumference is 32 inches. So, I want to make sure this is straight.
And then where's everybody from? You see any?
More people?
Colorado, Mississippi.
We got family in Mississippi.
Yeah,
Lots of family. Greenville, Mississippi. Leland, Mississippi.
We're Mississippi people. Just really fast, going up really fast. Lots of people on today. So any other really fun wall art projects? I'd like to hear if anybody has anything really unique that they've done, like any unexpected material. And today, that's going to be our giveaway question. And so Hometalk will be picking the winner, and the winner is going to get a beautiful tote bag. So we'll be getting your information and sending you one. So what I'm going to do, because this is wood, it's really easy to stencil. And I'm not sure how much people have by way of experience with stencil, but one of the really important things to remember about stenciling is less is more. And I love using stencil brushes. A lot of people prefer using sponges. I don't like those because I think that you don't have enough control. So I'm just going to use a stencil brush. But the problem with stencil brushes is that no matter what kind you get, here's a whole bunch of different kinds. No matter what kind you get, you're always going to lose bristles. So I always keep a pair of tweezers on hand, and I'm going to get started. So remember, less is more. So how I'm going to do this is I always get my brush down in there, then I get the excess out, and then just for good measure, I'll do it on the paper towel. So I always hold firm with one hand and go in circles in the other. Now, because I'm doing this on wood, it's really easy to do. And because I'm using chalk paint is so much thicker that you don't really have to worry so much about it getting underneath the stencil.
Suzanne Bearden says she's hung old gears on her privacy fence and left some rusted, but spray painted the ones that looked like the sun in a sunny yellow for a little pop of color.
Oh my gosh, that is really, if you can find me on Hometalk, you can go to my Hometalk profile. I would love for you to send me a picture of that. It sounds really amazing. Do we have any people from other countries?
Janice Fizzle turned old swinging cafe doors into black shutters and placed them on either side of an old painting.
Oh my gosh, that sounds really cool. So you can see it goes pretty quickly when your brush is kind of dry. You don't have to worry about it getting up underneath that stencil. But you can see that I'm getting bristles. Now that's going to happen with every stencil brush. So don't throw them away because you're losing bristles. Just keep some tweezers on hand. Now you can see this flooring has some bevel right here, and I'm not going to be able to get my paint in there, but that's okay. I don't want this to be perfect. I like it to have lots of character. So yeah, I think this is going to be, I like it if it's not too perfect, which is why I like using this scrap flooring, because it has all kinds of knots in it, and it's just got a lot of character, and sometimes you'll find holes in it or like burn marks or whatever. I love that. I just think that makes it so much more interesting. I don't like it when it's perfect. But this particular type of flooring you can find in the flooring department at Home Depot, but some Home Depots you find it in just the wood lumber section. They have it as wood paneling. So, and it's really, you don't want to tell them it's flooring and you don't want to tell them it's wood paneling because they get kind of snooty. But it's going to be in one of those places. So, and they're not always snooty. I love my people at my Home Depot, but sometimes they want to be the one that knows more than you. So just let them. They're going to help you.
And what about coats? You just have to do this one coat
Just the one coat, yeah. And you can see it'll go pretty quickly. Especially, like I said, I'm using chalk paint, which is pretty thick. So it's just very easy. And just swirl it. Sometimes I don't like it to be really heavy. And sometimes if it gets too heavy, the paint, I'll actually sand some of it off, because I don't want it to be too perfect. I want it to just look old and rustic.
Elisa Shelton says she made a wall hanging out of 3 brightly colored old ceiling tiles from the late 1800s.
Oh, I love the tin ceilings. I love that look. Yeah, that's a great idea. You can buy now, simulations of them, and they're nice, but man, I just love that old stuff. You can see by my living room, I have kind of a flair for, my favorite is the older the better. I love old antique stuff with history, So no, because I'm using the chalk paint, it actually dries pretty quickly. So you don't really have to worry. Now I'm going to be, once I'm done with this stencil, I'm going to actually be using a much more detailed stencil, and I'm going to be doing it all over the rest of this. And I'm going to be putting the stencil right over freshly painted areas. But I'm not really going to be too worried about it overlapping or running or anything, because it's just a much thicker chalk paint. All right, so I think this is good. Now, when you do a stencil, you want to take the stencil off pretty soon after you've got it on there. You don't want to let the paint completely dry, because if you do that, it can chip the paint when you pull it off. But I'm just going to pull this off real quick. Ooh, looks good. And of course, I find a couple of bristles, so I'm just going to get my tweezers and get these out of there.
Ooh, Maria de Souza from Brazil.
Oh, wow.
Fun. Hello, Brazil. Okay, so now I'm going to do my second part of that. I'm just going to line this up. So this lines up just like that.
Stephanie made wall art with recycled art pieces. Her favorite is taking old records and cutting out designs in them, or heating them up onto bowls to make clocks out of.
Oh, fun.
Out of a record.
Really, I mean, some of these ideas are just fantastic. I really hope that you guys find me on Hometalk and send me pictures.
There's been a few people wanting to share pictures of their projects.
Oh, so. Good. I'm going to set this right here so I can...
More from Brazil, Puerto Rico, Texas, Florida,
wow.
Missouri.
Wow. Hey, we got family in Texas too.
Yep. Yeah, it's too bad they can't.
UK.
What's that?
Wow.
Manchester?
Wow.
UK.
Huh.
Manchester United.
Quebec.
All right, so now I'm just going to do the second part of this.
And that's just a small section there.
This is just a small section. Again, I'm not doing the whole clock, and I don't want it to be perfect. I just want it to be kind of offset. I think that when you do it perfect, it's not wall art, it's like a statement. I like it when it's artistic and it's left to your imagination. So it's going to be kind of like a, when it's all said and done, it's going to be kind of like a snapshot of a wall or something. So it'll be fun. All right, so that part's done. And there we go, our clock is finished, this part of it. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a completely different direction. And I'm going to, oh, whoops, I thought I had another one. Now, I'm going to use a white color.
People are asking where you got your stencil.
I got my stencil on Etsy, and there's quite a few shops that have this stencil, and mine was kind of a custom order. It was really big. I think they go up to like 24 inches, but I think mine is 32 inches. So you can, most Etsy shops will customize for you if you ask them to. They're happy to do that, in fact. So now, my second stencil I have is a damask. And now it's a busy pattern. You can't really see it, but it's kind of a busy pattern. And in fact, it's this very stencil right here that I've got on the back of my couch. You can see that. So it's big, and it's got a lot of character to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of nowhere. I'm just going to put it where I can fit the whole thing in perfectly. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of areas where I can do the whole thing perfectly, but I just want to get one perfect one, and then after that I'm going to line it up. And as you can see, this is a stencil that has one damask and then 4/4 of one. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I have one whole one on there. Well, I'll start with one like that. That way I have the entire stencil on there. And then I'm going to show you kind of a trick. So let's get going with that.
New Zealand?
Wow. That's fantastic. It's such a, it's so amazing that we...
Oh, Japan.
Oh, wow.
Japan too.
It's so amazing that we can DIY together from all areas of the world. I mean, I wouldn't ordinarily get to meet some of these people from Japan. But one of the things that I truly love about Hometalk is that you can go on and meet some of the nicest people and share ideas and get really, really great inspiration from. Okay. All right. So now this is really intricate, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful with this, but so you just don't want to push as hard when you're swirling, but make sure that you get almost all of the paint off your brush before you even start. I was actually going to do the damask black and the clock white, but I did it the opposite. Okay, so I'll just start in the corner. Now you don't want it too heavy, but you want to be able to see that it's white. And because this is a larger stencil, it's much easier. So when you get to an area like this where it's really super detailed, I like to just go like this. Just kind of brush past it, because swirling it might disturb the pattern. So, and because this is wood, it's easier not to get really runny. If you're on a smoother surface, because wood is very porous, if you were on a smoother surface, it wouldn't soak in as quickly, and so then you'd be kind of, you'd have to be really careful at getting it all in there without getting it runny, and there we go. So once you get the first one in, the rest of it actually goes pretty easy as soon as you find your point. Now this is a repeated pattern, Again, it's a full damask and then 4 quarters. So once you figure out your repeated pattern, you'll be able to figure out how to put it all back together and get your patterns lined up.
Some people are asking if this is supposed to be backwards, but
it's backwards in the camera.
Yeah.
For us, when we look at it, it's filming on any Facebook Live. Everything will be backwards. So if you see Facebook Live where everything is the right way, then that person has a professional camera. We have a phone. That's our camera. So it's always going to be backwards.
Yeah, that was from Greg Murphy in Ireland.
Oh, see, we always get
or
people,
an inverted damask.
Yeah. we always get people from Ireland. I'm just so tickled. That's where my heritage is from. My mom's side of the family is from Ireland. Hi, Mom. I know she's watching from Palm Springs.
Oh, it must be rough.
Yeah. It's probably
80.
Yeah. She's probably having a tough day. Here in Washington, we've had, I guess, one of the rainiest winters we've ever had. So a lot of people are happy that we've reached spring finally, and we're hoping that the weather figures out what it's supposed to do. So now if you're like me, you'll do the stencils with your mouth open. For whatever reason, I seem to think it works better. Everybody does.
It's incredibly attractive.
Yes, isn't it?
I love your sofa.
Oh, thank you. I made that. So it's...
I made a guest appearance, I noticed, with my face was in front of the camera.
Oh, really?
You caught that earlier. Congratulations. Now, you've ordered quite a bit of these from this company, haven't you?
I
do you get
use
different
different
places?
companies. I find like some people like this particular damask here. You can see I've used it before, but I have to keep ordering new ones of it. It's my favorite damask pattern of all of them. However, it's very it's a thin mylar, so it ruins very easily. I can only use it like a couple of times, and then I'm done being able to use it. So I have to keep ordering it. But there are some companies that have really good mylar stencils, but you kind of figure that the more sturdy the stencil is, the less intricate a pattern that you can get. So it's like you kind of have to give up a little bit of what you want to get the other, or you can just keep buying the pattern like me. If I could figure out how to make stencils, I'd do it in a heartbeat. And I always try and figure out how to make anything that I really like. I always think, God, I could make that, and I do. I usually figure it out somehow. So has anybody else had any really fun stencil patterns that they've made? Anybody that makes stencils? And I mean, how hard is it to make stencils? I wonder. You need I think you need like a laser or something to do it. See, in these areas where it's really super, super intricate, that's where I just kind of brush it like that.
Yeah, people are asking about the stencil and if it's coming up and moving.
It is a little bit, I mean, but you're barely going to see this color, and I'm not doing it really heavy. It's not really meant to stand out a whole lot. It's just going to be kind of soft background. If I wanted it to be bolder and perfect, I probably would have used a black. But yeah, it's brand new. And this stencil, as you can tell by it's still blue. But when I've ordered it in the past, it's been a little bit sturdier. This is probably the least sturdy of this particular stencil that I've ever gotten. But
Jerica Malin says that she makes her own stencils and can teach you how.
oh, I would love that. Do you need to have a laser? Is it Erica?
Jerica,
Jerica, do you need to have a laser to do it? Or like an X-Acto knife, or...
Scotland, hello.
Hi! Okay, so I've got it on there. I pretty much got it done. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to move this and match up the patterns.
Kimberly says that she uses cereal boxes to make stencils because the cardboard's just perfect.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. But if you're using like a runnier... Oops, I'm going to have to get rid of that tape. If you're using like a runnier paint, it might soak into the box. But, I mean, it's not like you have to just go out and get another one, right? Okay. So, now I've got... This is the pattern. So you can see my pattern. Here I've got this pattern, and at the bottom I've got that pattern. So I want to make sure that I'm matching up the two so that I'm not going to invert it and do the wrong one. So I'm going to use, this is now the right direction, so I'm going to match this up. And you can see there's the circle, and all I have to do is come out. Again, with my mouth open.
No, they can't see you.
She said to message her and she'll explain. So
Yeah. Okay, let me see here. Okay. That's where it is. Okay. Once you find your point that match, it's really easy to do it from that point out. And because this is a much larger damask, it makes it easier. I mean, you're not having to match it as much. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to, you can see where my clock is. Now I don't want to go where my clock is. So I'm going to put some tape down right where my clock is so I don't overlap that, and I'm going to put that on there.
Sue says she made an exact stencil out of her bedspread and stenciled it onto the wall in her bedroom.
How super cool is that? Now that is creative. Good for you. Okay. So you can see how I've covered up that wall, or that cloth. Now I'm not going to, normally I would just take tape and just put it right on the stencil, because this is a really good tape and it generally comes off. However, this stencil has such intricate detail, I don't want to pull up on any of that detail. So I'm just going to go right over it like I did before. Okay. So how are we doing on time? Doing good?
Yeah, we got
I just don't want to
30.
overdo.
We're at 30.
Okay, good. So I might actually be able to finish this for you. That's okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
It goes by fast.
Mexico.
Wow.
Oh, awesome.
What part of Mexico?
It didn't say, it just says Hola from Mexico.
Hola!
¿Cómo estás?
Steph and I, when we were first married, we went down to Cabo San Lucas like a couple times a year. We loved it.
Well, here's one from Monterrey.
Monterrey, Mexico.
You spent some time down there.
I did. I lived in Monterrey, Mexico for a while.
She was a foreign exchange student down there.
Somebody's asking about what's up with the lady who can't get off the cell phone. I'm the lady that's answering all your questions and reading from where you are.
That's funny.
That was from Joan Brill.
She's observant.
Yes. Good catch, Joan. Okay. I keep noticing that my tongue is out, my mouth is wide open. I just don't think I can do a stencil unless I have that open.
But we don't have any headshots of you.
Okay, good. Because it wouldn't be pretty. So you can see I'm going right up to where that clock is. And having that tape there just kind of shows me where I need to be careful of. Now again, it doesn't need to be perfect because this is not going to be the finished look. And honestly, I picked the thickest chalk paint that I could find because I did not want it to be perfect. If it were too thick, or the color were too runny and it was like the stencil would be too perfect, I would probably go over it with some 220 grit sandpaper just to rough it up, because I don't want it to be perfect. I really want it to look old. And if the stencil is just too perfect, then to me it just looks new. And this is a whole rustic thing we got going on here, so I really don't want to make it look too new.
Rebecca from the Philippines.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
My daughter is
Awesome.
Filipino. Our daughter. We have a lot of connections to the people watching. A lot in common.
Courtney wants to know, what paint did you use for your couch?
I used chalk paint, but I used a fabric medium mixed with the chalk paint. So basically it's chalk paint, water, and fabric medium. And I did the stencil just like I'm doing it now with a stencil brush and in circular motion, and just like I'm doing with this, less is more. The only difference is with my couch, I had to do a couple of passes with the paint because it's so thin. And the fabric really is absorbent, and so you just have to be really careful. But it turned out really good, I thought. But
yeah.
The fabric is actually a drop cloth from Home Depot. So that's what I upholstered my couch with.
And we'll show you that just real quick. We'll take a little tour of it. Here's the couch. Here's the couch. You all can see that.
Okay.
They asked how long it took you to stencil the couch fabric.
About an hour. Oh, that looks good. See how it's lined up there? Okay, so now I'm going to match the pattern up here. Now, here was my full one, so I know my quarter is going to be right here. So I just got to match that up. Okay, so there it is. Am I right there? Yeah.
And we'll have a finished product too to show everybody.
Yeah,
so.
we're not gonna do the whole. I don't think I'm gonna do the whole thing for you, but I'll get most.
But we'll show you what you got to do next. What you got to do.
Okay. I think I'm good.
Catherine says, "Wow, this is really cool."
Well, I'm glad you're liking it, Catherine. And, you know, be sure if you really like this to give us some hearts, and also like and subscribe. I mean, like it, share it. If you like this project, share it with your friends. Share it on Facebook, and make sure that you tell people, hey, look at what they're doing, so that everybody else can have fun with it. So, I mean, Hometalk, the greatest thing about Hometalk is it's a community of just ordinary people helping each other learn how to do projects that we all love. And, you know, it's meant to lift and encourage and get to know people. And recently, I think back in December, Tamara right here, she came over and we had a painting party, a Hometalk painting party with people we'd never met before who were just Hometalkers. And the Hometalk team, that is in Manhattan, and yet they put together a list of people in our area, and we had a really great painting party and learned how to do all kinds of techniques that people had not ever done before. And I've taught the class before, So it was just a really fun experience. Tamara came over, and Tamara actually had kind of the envy piece. Her piece turned out really fantastic. She had a little wall sconce that she did, and it was she used some layering techniques with some crackle paint, and she did such a good job. But it was really fun because we got to meet lots of other home talkers that I ordinarily would not ever meet, and they're from my area. So how cool is that? And it was just a lot of fun. I had fun. Did you have fun, Tamara?
I did. It was great.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot too.
Yeah. That was the best part of it, is that everybody's creating something different and we're learning. And it was just like a group of girlfriends just doing a painting party. It was just really so much fun. And you can actually find that on the Hometalk discussions. I posted a bunch of pictures on the Hometalk discussion page about our paint party.
Catherine also said that she's going to share this in her HGTV group with over 100,000 members.
Oh, how fun! Well, hello HGTV, one of my favorite channels in the whole world.
Megan loves your kitchen sink.
Oh, thank you. I did that myself as well. So we had my kitchen makeover is, you can find that under my profile on Hometalk. But just to tell you real quick, we had several contractors come out, and I wanted a farm sink, and nobody would do it. They told me I couldn't do it with my existing cabinets, and they were quoting me outrageous prices and just telling me I couldn't do it. So I found a way to do it.
Carol Thomas wants to know how you became a home talker.
So how this all started, how I ended up being part of the live group, is that I joined a discussion. There was just people were talking on the comment sections of someone's post and talking about the different projects they did, and I posted a picture of one of the projects I had done, which was my concrete countertops in my kitchen. And Miriam, who is one of the co-founders of Hometalk, loved it, and so she asked me to do a live demonstration of how to do those countertops. So I did. That was my very first Hometalk live. I did my bathroom. I did some countertops in my bathroom, and that also you can find underneath my profile. So, okay, so we're getting close to the end of the time. So I want to just kind of go over. I will finish this later and post the pictures later, but I do have one finished. But before I really go through what I did on that, I'm going to show you how to put the back on, and then I'll show you the finished product.
They're wanting to see the sink.
Oh, honey. But I did. I did not be able to do this with the existing cabinets.
I'll take you to the sink.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you when you get back.
You can keep yelling. Here's the sink, folks.
Because when you paint it, it gets it too heavy. When you swirl it, it messes up.
Okay, we're coming back now.
Okay. They're not going to do.
They can hear you. You're loud.
Oh, okay.
And loud and proud, and it's good.
The reason why you swirl it is because it breaks up the brush marks, so you don't get brush marks. So it's just a swirling pattern. So I'm not going to finish all of my damask. Actually, I kind of like this, so we can leave it undone like this, and I can just move to the next step. As long as Jordan's okay with me still going?
She's gone.
Oh, okay.
We're at 40.
Okay. So the last step, so I'm not going to, I have a nice square here, and normally I take it all the way out, but I think I'm going to leave it just like this. So the last little bit that I do is to take a stain. I'm going to use a dark walnut, which is my favorite, or you can use a Kona stain. The finished product that I'll show you in a little bit is a dark walnut, or is a Kona stain, but I'm going to finish it with the dark walnut. And the one I like to use is the stain and poly together, because it gives it the shine and kind of has a finish on it. But before I do that, I want to show you how to do the back so you can hang it. So
She does wrap up in 5 minutes.
Okay. So what you want to do is, this is how it's going to hang. So what I do is I get these little D-rings right here. You can get these at Home Depot. I get a box of them. They're called D-rings. And you can just put them right up here on either side. Now remember, I measured this out. So all you got to do is take your screwdriver and put those in right on the back. So, and I've got the little screws right here. Make sure, I'm only going to do one so you can just see how to do it. But make sure you put both holes. Now these D-rings will hold up to 20 pounds. So, you know, as long as you're not using a really heavy wood, that's all you really need. So, and I'll do one pass of the stain so you can see how well it looks after you start the stain. And then I'll show you the finished product. I hope you guys are having fun. This is one of my favorite things to do, and they're so quick and so easy to do. So now you can see you're all ready to hang it. You just measure it out and you can hang it like that. But before we do that, I'm just going to put one pass of the stain so you can see how good it looks once the stain is on and how easy this is. So
Helen says she stenciled an old door and hung it on her wall.
oh, super cool. I took my closet doors out, and I have one of my old closet doors that it was just a plain like oak closet door, and I actually stenciled it and put crackle paint on it and made it look like an old Parisian shop door. You can kind of see it in the back of our living room. But so you can see how the stain kind of comes out, or the stencil kind of comes out with the stain. I would probably do like maybe 2 to 3 coats of this. This is the dark walnut. If you do the Kona stain, you only have to do one. But
does that stain have a protective finish?
Yes, this is a stain and poly mix.
So that's why you're doing it over the...
Right.
So it's 2 in 1.
It's a 2-in-1. So you literally, with a couple of coats, it just seals itself. And
yeah, they were asking why wouldn't you stain it first and then paint?
Because I like it to be more weathered. I don't want the paint to look perfect. I want it to look old. So I think when you put the paint over the stain, then if the paint is too heavy, then I can't sand it off because the stain's under there. So I want to make sure the paint looks really old, like I've just, you know, found an old piece of wall, like this was on somebody's wall or something. Okay, so I think you get kind of an idea of how you do that, and I'm going to show you our finished product.
And then if you wanted that darker, you could put another coat on it, correct?
Yeah, I would, with the dark walnut, I would actually do probably 2 to 3 stains. Dark walnut is my favorite color, but with the Kona, which is the color I did on our finished piece, that actually is, I did the Kona stain, and I only had to do 1 coat. So you can see, this is what it looks like. Now, the cool part about this is this little fleur-de-lis right here. I got this at Hobby Lobby for, it was like $5.99, but then it was half off. And so every once in a while you can go into Hobby Lobby and get these for like just a couple of dollars. So whenever I do a wall hanging, I like to add some of that to it. Or you could do hooks. You could put hooks in here and have this be kind of like a coat rack. I've got one of these in my bathroom that is for robes and towels. But today I have, oh, I thought I had this fleur-de-lis that I got, and at full price it was $9.99, but I got it on clearance, so it literally cost me like $2. So that one is the one that I'm going to put on my larger wall hanging here. So once I get this all stained, I'm going to hang this right here, and I'm going to attach it with my E6000. So, but that's because it's a larger wall hanging, but with my shorter one, I just use the smaller fleur-de-lis. So anyway, so that's the end of my live. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I love making these. And be sure, if you really like our page, to hit like and share it. And then, huh?
And then win the contest.
Yeah, and
Suzanne Bearden.
Suzanne Bearden is the winner. Suzanne, good job. So tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and our pretty little Hannah from Hometalk. She'll be at Hometalk headquarters, and she's going to be doing her live, and she's going to make little stamps out of fruit and vegetables and like other household items. So that's going to be really fun. So tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for her. So have a good evening. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.